everybody. Welcome to the Stadium Light. I can assure you I am here, despite what the backdrop looks like. I'm essentially right at the back of the Stadium Light. As Pad will probably now document, that is our view this morning, this afternoon, this lunchtime as the game kicks off. So if anyone's got any binoculars spare, if they could quickly get them up to the northeast, that would be greatly appreciated. Hopefully Pad's connection holds up, because what we wanted to avoid was two people with white backgrounds, but certainly on my screen he looks to have frozen. So let's hope we can get him back shortly. Of course, Norwich City in action nice and early this afternoon. There we go, we've got Paddy back. And they face soon-to-be managerless Sunderland. We covered that all off in the preview show yesterday, but situation is as was, really. Alex Neil not here today, but we'll come back to that. Norwich City have released their team news. Very, very interesting line from this. Norwich City unchanged from last weekend's starting lineup, but Sam Byram replaces Milo Rashica on the bench. So no Milo Rashica in the matchday squad for Norwich City this afternoon. So just to run through Norwich City's starting 11 before we come to that, Pad. Norwich have Tim Krul in goal, Aaron Omobamidele, Hanley and McLean as the back four, Gibbs, Sinani and Gibbs, Nunez and Dowell as the midfield three, with Sinani, Hernandez and Sargent up front. The subs bench: Gunn, Byram, Gibson, Cantwell, Sara, Ramsey, Pukki. Pad, no Milo Rashica in the squad. What does that mean for him, his future, his Norwich City future, as we approach what is essentially the last few days of the transfer window?
Well, I mean, two scenarios. It can only be two scenarios, and that is, I'm just double checking. I don't see Hugill on there either. You'll correct me if I'm wrong there.
No, I did see Jordan Hugill as the players emerged, and they were here. He is here. I didn't see Milo Rashica, but then all the players don't come out on the pitch, so it would be unfair for us to speculate on that.
And likewise with Rashica, because essentially it's one or two scenarios. We go down to Colney on a Friday morning, speak to Dean Smith, does his pre-match. Subsequently, they train. I think there was some training pictures I saw late in the afternoon Friday. So there's either a fitness issue that's come up post Dean speaking to the media. That wouldn't be the first time. So that's one scenario. Or probably given 5 days from the end of the transfer window, does it indicate that maybe there is now moves afoot that potentially could mean Milo Rashica leaves the club? That in itself won't be a huge surprise. But it was only yesterday at that press conference where Dean Smith, when I directly put to him regarding Aarons and Rashica, the two who you could justifiably think at the start of this summer might have left, might have attracted the funds that Norwich would have been looking to generate.
Do we know what Stoke are up to? They've got a bit of experience in this area.
I think they're a bit too concerned at the minute with extracting the manager of the opposition today to worry about player recruitment yet, should I say? But anyway, at yesterday's press conference on the direct question about Rashica, he said no, led to believe there's nothing happening at the moment. Then he went on and talked about planets having to align, and as he has done a few times when he talks about this topic, Dean Smith had accepted a bid from an interested party to Norwich. The player being happy, his representatives being happy. But let's put a big caveat against this, that we're not aware of anything as we sit here and record. Dean Smith didn't indicate there was anything just over 24 hours ago. Clearly things can move fast at this stage of the window. We will get clarification in a matter of time it takes for this game to elapse and for me to speak to Dean Smith. So we'll park it there for now. But of course we can hypothesise, and given that they were linked as well with one or two other players in that area all recently. Albert Hythe, I think if you pronounce him that way, I'm certainly pronouncing him that way. Bordeaux, wide player, operating in that area of the pitch. There's a path you could see that they would sanction a Rashica departure. He hasn't really cut the mustard, let's be honest, since he arrived for big money last summer. I did ask Dean Smith earlier in the summer if Milo Rashica had given an indication, like Lise Malou did, that the championship wasn't going to be for him. Dean Smith said that wasn't the case, said his attitude was spot on since he came back in pre-season. But, of course, if there's hypothetically some Bundesliga interest there, maybe even a certain former manager of the parish, because there was reports that Mönchengladbach came and had a look at him in that Wigan opening Carrow Road League game. So, as I say, would we be surprised if Milo Rashica departs by the end of the window? No, because it always felt he was purchased clearly to improve them in the Premier League, and when that didn't happen, you didn't really see him hanging around, me personally anyway. So, and if they can recoup, of course, if this is a transfer-related absence and it turns into that, there's no guarantee this is anything other than maybe a loan with a buy option. So we won't say that Norwich are on the cusp of recouping some or all of the money they paid for him last summer, but right here, right now, the fact that he's not in the matchday squad, that in itself is significant, and we will get full clarification why that isn't the case. The club may possibly, if it was, I've not seen the club's tweet. There's nothing there to indicate that there's an injury absence. So at this stage, it does tip more towards transfer exit rather than injury exit. Dean Smith will confirm that after the game. But ultimately, the man who's starting on the right today, it does, Ollie, spot on. But Dan El-Sanani has been far more threatening, in albeit a small sample, but in terms of goals and assists, which is what players in that area of the pitch should be contributing, he looks a better bet for me. So, personally, would not be averse to Dan El-Sanani moving forward as Norwich's right-sided option in this type of shape.
No, it's worth adding to that as well. Milo Rashica's found himself on the bench in the last two championship games. Norwich City have won both of those games. Dan El-Sanani's been very good in both of those games. So we'll get full confirmation on that from Dean Smith after the game. But a very interesting line. Again, nothing in the club's tweet that revealed the team used to suggest that it was injury related, but difficult for us to fully say that until we've spoken to Dean Smith. Another kind of noticeable absentee, I suppose, Adam Eder, not even in the matchday squad today. He definitely is here. I did see him. I think he was alongside Jordan Hugill, actually. What do you make of that one, Pat? Because he came on, he made an impact, he scored a goal in midweek. Is it probably an assessment from Dean Smith that it's probably still too soon to throw him in league matches and I suppose even in the matchday squad at this stage? Or is it just because he has loads of options to choose from at this moment in time?
Well, it is that. It's well-worn phrase now. I will be leaving good players in the stand on outside of the group, and certainly Adam Eder and Jordan Hugill, to maybe a lesser extent, fall into that category. He's gone with Pukki as the backup to Sargent. I think it's probably a reflection of also the dynamic he wants on the bench there. He's got three midfielders, I see, in Zara, Cantwell and Ramsey. So maybe he feels he can affect a game potentially better with having a more stacked substitutes bench with midfield options. Clearly, Pukki in reserve is a very, very good option to have at this level. And also, I think with Adam, there is that dimension that essentially he last kicked the ball competitively in league action in February against Crystal Palace in the Premier League. But he'll have done his cause no harm. Dean Smith was quick to talk up how him and Pukki had combined and gave them a little bit of an injection of something when they came on in that last 20 minutes or so against Bournemouth. Combined, what we hoped was for the winner, didn't turn out to be the case. But I guess when you've got Pukki and you've got Hugill, you don't need to rush a man who's been out since February. Softly, 40 plus games left at this level. He will get plenty of opportunities as we progress to impact Norwich's championship season. So, I don't think, as we both said, we've seen them here, those two strikers. So, I think that's essentially, you will do for me, Adam, but maybe not for today. Maybe Birmingham onwards, we'll start to see him integrated a bit more into the matchday squad. But what a great situation for Dean Smith. There's, I think, pretty much every other championship manager in this league would cast an envious glance at Norwich's attacking Arsenal and think, I'd love to have those decisions to make about who to leave out of that quartet.
Yeah, our colleague at Radio Norfolk, Chris Gorham, reporting that Milo Rashica did travel with the team today. He was out here long before we were, so a possibility that he saw him. And obviously, I wear glasses, so my eyesight isn't great anyway. So there is a possibility that he was out there when we had a look. He wasn't one that I drew my eyes to at that point. So there we go. As you said, we'll hear from Dean Smith after the game to confirm exactly the situation with that one. It could be performance related, but it would feel a little bit strange to drop Milo Rashica on the basis of getting Sam Byram in the squad unless he feels he needs a bit more cover at left back potentially. That may well be in his thinking as well. So I guess there's probably a performance point as well to add to the injury/transfer threads that we've kind of unpicked here already. So worth adding kind of that context in. I'll read you the Sunderland team. They line up with, and this was probably picked by Alex Neil, by the way. They've got Patterson in goal, Gooch, O'Nien, Bat and Sirkin, Clark, Evans, Neil, not that one, Alex Pritchard, Sims and Stewart is their starting 11, their subs bench. Bass, Elise, Wright, Diamond, Embleton, Denver Hume and a certain Patrick Roberts. So that is their team for this afternoon. Pat, I think, and we discussed this on the long journey that we had last night, really, about Onel Hernandez and maybe feeling that he would probably revert back to Todd Cantwell today. He hasn't done that. Is that a real boost shot of confidence in the arm of Onel Hernandez, I suppose?
Absolutely. And again, maybe a reflection of, obviously there's a massive element of uncertainty now with the Alec Neil factor, but if he was doing his planning for this game, maybe he thought Sunderland would get on the front foot and try to get after them, and that might allow Norwich to slip into a bit more of a counter-attacking philosophy, strategy. And in that type of game, then Onel Hernandez with his pace and directness could be a good asset. I think there's also, with Kenny McLean at left-back as well, I think Onel's more minded to do that defensive shift than Cantwell. Cantwell will do it. I'm not questioning his appetite to do that, but I think because Hernandez, we saw it midweek, actually came on in that wing-back role. He's played that position, defensive position for Birmingham last season. He's probably looking at it and thinking, well, just to give Kenny a bit more protection as well. So there's a few factors in play there, but I am surprised. I think we both thought that there'd be the same 10 from Millwall plus Cantwell and for Onel, and that hasn't proved to be the case. But ultimately Dean Smith gets paid to make these decisions, and much like we talked earlier about Pookie, to have a Todd Cantwell on the bench, to have even a Zara now after his first 90 minutes, they are game-changing options from the bench. And if it's that evenly poised after an hour or whatever, and Dean Smith can turn around and he sees Cantwell, Zara and Pookie, then they can make the difference. So interesting one though, because he kind of he did explain the Millwall selection in terms of Cantwell out and Hernandez in, very much in the context of no reflection on Todd, all about how he wanted to set up and counter out what Millwall did. So we'll assume it's similar today. But I'd imagine Todd is probably going to get to the point where he would feel after a very positive start to his season that he'd want to be on the pitch and contributing, but we're obviously nowhere near that. But it's ultimately for him, when he does get an opportunity, whether it's off the bench again today, to really grab the game and force his way back in.
Yeah, I did explain last week. I thought it was probably more of a tactical decision when you've got McLean as a left back. I mean, when Norwich are in possession, naturally, because he's a central midfielder, he does tend to wander inside somewhat. So Onel Hernandez on that side almost retains the width, so to speak. Sunderland also playing a back three today as well. So whether that, similarly to what it was against Millwall, is in Dean Smith's thought process, I'm not sure. So that's going to be interesting. Pad, let's end by talking about the Alex Neil situation. Very rare that we kind of cover opposition clubs too much in these videos, but obviously formerly of the parish, will be formerly of this parish as well very, very soon. He's obviously left the Academy of Light yesterday around 2 p.m. to go to Stoke after being granted permission to talk to them about their managerial vacancy after the dismissal of Michael O'Neill earlier in the week. Obviously someone that you covered when he was in his role. How surprised are you by his decision? And we've walked into the Stadium of Light, and I think your first reaction when you walk into this ground is to go, wow, what a place. So why, from an outside perspective, from someone who perhaps knows him slightly on a personal basis, do you feel he has gone, or is going to go, from a club with the size and the magnitude of Sunderland to Stoke City? Because I think most people are looking at that and feeling it's a little bit sideways. And second part to that question, what is the potential impact of that saga around this game for Norwich City?
Well, that's to be decided, and we'll find out swiftly enough. I mean, for me, it's the reaction of a very, very sizable Sunderland crowd. I don't know how many they've sold, but they've really reconnected, it feels, with their team, given what Neil did. Very similar parallels. He came in towards the back end of the season, like he did with Norwich, and dragged that team through the playoffs, won at Wembley and took them on. Albeit that was one step higher in terms of what he did at Norwich. But will they turn their attentions on the board, and will that create a very fractious atmosphere, and how will their players react to that? Who knows? Will they get behind their players and feel that why seemingly is Alex Neil wanting to walk away from what he was building here, which, as you say, you look around the stadium, we see the size of the fan base. There's no reason they can't bounce through again, as Norwich did, as Southampton did again, and go through double promotion and be back in the Premier League, which is where they were for a number of years. 8 points from the first 5 league games. They'd only lost the 1 league game going into the day. This is a club that felt like it was moving forward. Suddenly they've been jolted to a halt. Well, time will tell, but it doesn't do them any good at all, I don't think. It feels, you get the sense here that it has caught them by surprise. So I don't think there's a succession plan naturally in place that will cause untold disruption to the group of players who have all clearly bought into Alex Neil and his philosophy and what he's about. So I don't think fundamentally it does them no good whatsoever. How damaging, time will tell, both today and moving forward. In terms of Alex Neil's reasoning, I did get to know him quite well when he was at Norwich, and I always found him a man who was very ambitious and certainly not motivated by personal gain financially. So I don't think, unless we find out different, that because there is in the air about is there some issues maybe he felt with his contract here or not being backed in terms of bringing in players. But then to counteract that, one of our colleagues, Sam Seaman, said yesterday that I think they've got the 3rd highest net spend of any of the Championship clubs in this summer window. So that indicates he has had a level of backing. None of that is something that's in the public domain, so we have to speculate. But I would think he's probably looking at it, and if there are some frustrations at the Sunderland end in terms of his impinging on his ability to really maximise the potential here, he's probably hearing a lot more positivity about Stoke. We know, again, very similar clubs in terms of their Premier League footprint, in terms of the size of the clubs. You'd argue that probably Sunderland are a bigger club in terms of fan base, but what they have is very, very, very wealthy owners, bankrolled by the family who run or ran the Bet365 betting empire, worth billions and billions of pounds. So I know there's the FFP dimension in the Football League, but clearly it seems, if it all goes through without any late hitches, that maybe he feels that's a club he can take further down the road than a Sunderland. But it's still, and as we walked into the ground today, I heard one of the Sunderland officials overheard talking about it feels like a rudderless ship now, and when you lose your captain, that's going to be the case essentially. So they will be hurting, and they will be a bit disorientated. And bringing it right back to this game, and from a Norwich perspective, go and make the most of that. Really inflict, some pain on them. Get ahead early, really get that crowd anti, and make the most of it, and get out of here with 3 points and get back down the road and let Sunderland deal with whatever Sunderland going to have to deal with. Really, from a Norwich perspective, I think this is something they need to cash in and capitalise on. And you would imagine Dean Smith will be well aware of the mood, music and the dynamic, and drilling that into his players. Nothing silly, nothing sloppy. Certainly don't let these get in front, because then they'll have a cause to hold on to. And as I say, if they do that, I would expect Norwich just to edge it today. I think prior to the Alex Neil scenario blowing up, I felt maybe a draw today, because this did feel like a club on the up and a team on the up. But now, for me, probably just Norwich edge it.
Yeah, I would completely agree. And I kind of wrote this in my column this morning. All week I've been really looking forward to this game, because it felt for both sides like a really good test. Sunderland have started strongly in the Championship under Alex Neil. We all know how his teams play. They kind of embody him as a person. They're intense. They press high. They're dogged. They're difficult to play against. And you get a Norwich side who are kind of on the up at the moment, back-to-back victories. Sunderland probably represent a step up to what they've played so far, and it almost feels like we've been robbed of that slightly. So thanks Stoke for that, but it is about capitalising almost on the chaos, isn't it? Coming here, calm heads, being professional, doing the job, ensuring that the 30,000 or so that are going to be inside this stadium have a miserable afternoon that they're probably anticipating anyway. And to me, as I kind of said on the way up yesterday, that first goal, as it always is in the Championship, but certainly today, feels absolutely crucial, because if Norwich grab it, then suddenly everything feeds into maybe the narrative that Sunderland fans have walking in. But if Sunderland get it, it can create kind of a siege mentality, and it could really flip the game, and the atmosphere in this place would be pretty electric, as we know it can be. So it's going to be really interesting. I'm really looking forward to it. Pad, thank you for joining me. Thank you all very much for watching. Of course, we'll provide updates of Dean Smith's comments after the game, where we will, of course, be asking him about Milo Rashica's situation. as well as various things on the game as well. I'll be on the live blog all afternoon. You can come and join me on the Pinken Plus app. If you're yet to take out a month's trial, simply go over to pinken.com. There's a tab in the top left that says Pinken Plus. Click on that, follow all the instructions. You can get your month's trial. Plenty of exclusive content on there around this game and throughout the week as well. We're in the relentless stage of the championship season. Let's see what today brings. From a very sunny Stadium of Light, thank you very much for watching. See you soon.